Hey, Dan here, and in today's video, I'm answering a question from an ambitious young ENFP named Jim. He says, my question is, what are some important things that an ambitious young person should consider when entering the real world? Are there things that less experienced people might brush over or miss? Well, Jim, yes, there are, and I'm going to share 6 pieces of advice today. The first is that learning pays exponential results. What I mean by that is something you learn when you are 20 that maybe changes your behavior, helps you be a better version of yourself, and even if that gives you a 1% boost every year compared to how you would have been if you didn't learn that, 1% over the next 80 years of your life is a really big deal. When I was in my 20s, I spent a lot of time learning, going to personal development events and all this sort of thing. And my results at the time, in terms of how I felt and things like that, were great. In terms of my bank account, not exactly amazing. It was a slower start, perhaps, to life than it could have been if I had have just jumped into a job as a management consultant or something. But all that time I invested in learning and developing myself keeps paying dividends even today, and I'm sure it will 10, 20, 30 years from now. So don't feel bad about investing a lot of time in learning when you're younger. Not necessarily academic learning. Don't go get a 3rd master's degree or anything like that, but I mean learning about being a better version of yourself. Now, on that note, when I say learning, I do not just mean from books or audiobooks or YouTube. People really matter as well, and this is my next piece of advice. The people in your life will have a greater impact on who you are, who you become, and what you do than anything else in your life. So pay attention to who you spend time with. Pay attention to the attitudes and the beliefs and the way the people around you make you feel, because ultimately that's going to determine who you become and the life you lead. This can be a really amazing thing. If you surround yourself with great people, it becomes pretty easy to have a great life. But if you do the opposite, the results are not so good. The other thing about real people is, how do I say this? Real people make things real, right? I know, deep, profound statement, but it's true. At my event here in Prague a few weeks ago, I had a couple friends come who are professional YouTubers. Between them, they have something like 6 million subscribers. And one of the reasons I love having them at the event, aside from sharing some of their insights on YouTube and all this, is they take a profession which people assume isn't really possible, like becoming a YouTuber, earning all your money just making videos and doing what you like to do. People assume that's impossible, and even though they know it is possible because they see other YouTubers or people online doing it, it's not until you meet someone in person where it becomes real and you're like, wait a minute, you're a normal person and you're doing that thing that I want to do. And okay, this makes sense. So aside from encouragement and support and insights and ideas, all the things you can get from the people around you, one of the best things you get by being around people doing the thing you want to do is it becomes real. And once something is real to you, it becomes a lot easier to pursue. And I suppose on that same note, if you surround yourself with people who all have the kind of job you don't want to have and who all believe the kind of job or business you do want to have isn't possible, well, that's going to make the thing you really want to do not possible, not real, and the odds of you actually pursuing it and doing it when you're in that environment, when you're with those people, is going to be a lot lower. Now, I already talked about the benefits of learning and how that will impact you throughout your whole life. When you are young, and this is especially true of ENFPs, getting a lot of experience is critical because it helps you build your intuition. As you get older, one of your biggest superpowers, if not your best superpower across the board, is your sense of intuition and being able to trust your gut and make decisions that way. And this is something you hear not just for ENFPs, but across the board. When you see really successful people interviewed, they often do talk about trusting their intuition and trusting their gut. The way you get an intuition you can trust is by taking risks, screwing up, making mistakes, getting a ton of input. Unfortunately, I see a lot of young people jump right into a career at age like 21 or 22 in America or Canada, and maybe it's like 26 or 27 in Europe, without really knowing what they want to do at all. And the problem with that is when you come out at like 40 and you're like, oh, I do not like this job, I want to make a career change. And I've been in contact with people like that who call me about coaching and they want to work with me because they became a doctor or an accountant or something and they want to make a change. But if you've been doing that your whole life, you don't have that many inputs. So I would really encourage you to screw up, to travel, to try new things in your 20s. I'll tell you right now, you'll face pressure from other people about the fact that you need to be buying a house by your 30. If you're in Canada or America, that's the pressure that's out there now, right? You need to be saving, you need to work up the career track, all that sort of thing. Great. But I'm guessing if you're watching my videos and my channel, that's not really something that really resonates with you. And the worst thing you can do is buckle down in your 20s, work a job you don't really like because you gave in to that pressure. And then when you're like 35, decide, forget that pressure, I'm gonna go travel the world and find myself. That's still good. I do it at 35 instead of never. But in terms of career disruption or business disruption or anything else, building a life, if you do wanna do that when you're older, and by build a life, I mean, you know, family, kids, buy a house, that sort of thing. It's a lot better to do the crazy stuff when you're in your 20s, figure out who you are a bit more, figure out what you really want in life, and then have a little more focus in your 30s and 40s and beyond. Not a ton of focus. You can still have a lot of fun, trust me on that one, but definitely use your 20s to experiment and see who you really are. So there's 2 more tips I want to share, and the last one is especially important for any idealist that is an NF personality type. Number 5, my advice for young people is to think about and learn about the day-to-day for any kind of career, job, or business you want to start. There are so many people I meet who are optimists and who imagine the best and say become a lawyer because they watch The Practice. I almost did this. I watched The Practice. It was a TV show when I was growing up about lawyers who came up with these crazy creative plans and always got their clients off the hook. And that's what I thought being a lawyer would be. And then I had a mock trial in my high school law class, and that's apparently not how things really work. The reality of being a lawyer in most law firms and most places now is you're reading paperwork. You're basically a glorified secretary in a lot of cases, right? So that's okay if that's what you're looking for because the job still appeals to you. But if you think you're gonna be in the courtroom getting justice, defending people that no one else will defend, and then you go get like a corporate law gig, probably not going to add up with reality, right? I hear the same thing about architecture a lot, that the reality of the job is not creative, it is not fun, it's not about making things, it's usually about getting permits and doing paperwork for the people above you. So before committing to a job, and even worse, before committing to a degree that in the US might get you $100,000, $200,000 in debt, go see what the real job is like. Interview 5 people with that job. Go to the office, pretend you're a janitor. Heck, get a job as a janitor and walk around the office and see what people do, see how happy they are. Do that before you commit to the education. For heaven's sake, please, please do that if you do anything from this video. And last but definitely not least is emotions matter. If you're an optimist, it can become easy to assume that you'll be able to tough it out and get the best results from a job, and maybe there's a career you want to do or somewhere you want to live that isn't really great. You're not that excited about it, but you convince yourself you'll be able to do it. You know, this is like me with accounting, is whenever I eventually need to do it, I do it. And I tell myself, it's not that bad. I'll just do it next time. But it's never really enjoyable and it never gets better and it always gets done late, right? So keep this in mind. Ultimately, your emotions are gonna have a huge impact on your performance at any kind of job or business you start. Don't be overly optimistic when you're picking what you wanna do. Be optimistic in other areas of your life. Being an optimist can be very good, but don't get into a career that from the beginning you have your doubts about, but you tell yourself you'll be able to tough it out or be disciplined or any of this. Emotions matter, and if you don't feel connected with what you're doing, if you're not really enjoying it and aligned with the mission, over the long run, you're going to bail out of it. And it's a lot better to just not start it than fail at it because you're not emotionally connected and then bail out. Wow, so if you are a young person and you are still watching, you have the top 0.1% of attention spans of your generation. So congratulations. And in that case, I must insist on you hitting that subscribe button and hitting the bell so you are notified of new videos. I publish new videos on becoming the best version of yourself each and every week. So definitely hit the subscribe button and let me know below in the comments which of these 6 pieces of advice was your favorite and which are you going to put into action immediately. Thank you for watching. Catch you in the next video soon.